Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of What's Driving Token Prices. I'm your host, Katie Talati, Director of Research at Arca. For those joining us for the first time, I'm responsible for identifying and analyzing digital asset and blockchain opportunities for Arca's funds. As part of our research, my team and I examine token prices and the market events that act as catalysts for price change. Based on our market research and events over the past week, here are some notable token price movements and what we think drove these moves. As a reminder, this commentary is not intended to be investment advice, investment research, or an investment recommendation. Please consult your investment professional for your own circumstances. Hey everyone, welcome back to another week in the crypto markets. There's obviously been a lot of top line news, mostly related to the war and to how it's been affecting generally broader markets, not just digital assets. But we had quite a bit going on over the weekend here, so I'm going to get us started. So first, I'm going to talk about Resolv protocol. So if you're not familiar with Resolv, they issue a stablecoin called USR, and USR is essentially pegged to a stablecoin called, it uses a stablecoin pegging mechanism that essentially takes what's called like a market neutral or a delta neutral hedging strategy. You own spot Bitcoin or ETH, and then you short the perpetual futures from that. And that kind of keeps it at a sustained rate, and you earn a yield off of that. Pretty similar to Athena, which I've talked about a lot on here. Resolv, though, was like one of the pretty bigger stable coins. Unfortunately, over the weekend, they had a depegging event, and it's had a ton of implications across DeFi. So basically what happened is an attacker exploited a vulnerability in USR's code that allowed for unlimited minting of the stablecoin. The attacker then sold these newly minted coins, crushing USR's price and depegging it from $1. So ultimately, the hacker was able to mint about $80 million of USR and extract $23 million of proceeds from the hack. And specifically in this case, because they weren't just stealing underlying assets that were in the protocol. What they were doing was minting a bunch of tokens, and it minted almost what it was at the time about 100% of supply. It essentially stole assets from everybody who held USR. As I said, so Resolv promptly halted withdrawals from the protocol, but the damage had kind of already been done. The price of USR is now trading at around 31 cents from $1. And as I mentioned, the hack had a lot of implications across DeFi, with a lot of protocols facing liquidations on loans with USR exposure, specifically in lending protocols, Morpho, Euler, Fluid, and others. And interestingly enough, Stakehouse Financial, which is a risk analytics firm, actually was hired a few weeks ago by Resolv Protocol, and they identified this specific hack and posted about it in their forums several days before it happened, along with a few other kind of vulnerabilities in the product. So this just highlights, again, kind of how DeFi in general really needs to contain future hacks to mitigate widespread mitigation, or to mitigate widespread kind of contagion. The big issue here was that really this was isolated to just the Resolv protocol. Obviously, this person took those assets away, but the depegging, or the idea that these stable coins can just knife down so violently in value, is what allows people who have stablecoin backed loans or stablecoin denominated loans in this specific stablecoin, in this case USR, it essentially liquidates them from these lending positions and is so incredibly damaging. So a lot of people are really calling for better, kind of design initiatives around some of these things, fixing stablecoin prices to $1, having kind of like safeguards that go up when there is some sort of a depegging event for a short amount of time. But no real answers have been, settled on just yet. For context, Resolv, they are down 24% this week, and the USR governance token Resolv is down 24% this week, and the USR stablecoin is down 69%. Okay, next up, I'm going to talk about Balancer. Backpack exchange. Sorry. So Solana. This week, the Solana-based backpack exchange finally launched their token on Monday. They released about 25% of the supply in an airdrop to users. None of the released tokens, though, went to team members, investors, and other insiders. All the tokens are also expected to be released going forward based on operational milestones. So Backpack Exchange essentially kind of was created by the team behind the BLabs NFT collection, which was a NFT collection that gained notoriety in 2022, I believe, on Solana. And so Backpack Exchange kind of grew out of that. They originally started as they wanted to be more of an NFT wallet, but have over time, morphed into this exchange. So the exchange has been up and running for quite a bit. And it is, more now on the terms of regulated product. So users can also stake their BP tokens, which is interesting, to earn fee discounts on the exchange, and they could potentially actually receive Backpack equity in the future in exchange for staking those tokens. As most new issues happen to go, the BP token is down about 33% since listing on Monday. Okay, last up, we're going to talk about Balancer. So on Monday, the decentralized exchange Balancer actually announced that they're going to be shutting down their labs entity called BLabs. So the decision comes after the protocol suffered a $110 million hack last year. And the labs division basically said, we're unable to support the resulting legal and financial burden from such a hack. This is... I bring this up just because we've had so much talk recently about, labs divisions and kind of equity holders versus token holders versus DAOs. So I thought this was kind of an interesting development to see. So the team did say they considered shutting down the entire protocol as well, but the founders did want to give a small portion of the team a chance to restructure, as the protocol does still generate revenue. So as part of the restructure, all of the BAL emissions are going to go to zero. And also about 100% of the revenue now is going to be redirected to the protocol, whereas before only 17.5% of Balancer revenue was going to the protocol. So Balancer was once a huge DeFi stalwart. At one point, they had $2.6 billion in TVL at their peak in mid-2021. However, since then, TVL has dwindled. It's down to about 159 million as of today. The Balancer Pro token, BAL, is kind of flat for the week. It's down about 60 basis points. All right, guys, that's all I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed our insights. Tune in here again next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific to hear what's driving token prices.